Pop quiz. Hi, by the way, I'm Pat. Do you know your numbers as a small business owner? Like, are you really aware of where the dollars come in, where they go, and then what's left for you? And what about taxes? Yeesh. Well, today's show is all about small business finance 101, how to know your numbers and how to make better decisions when you do. And trust me, you're not going to learn from me. You're going to learn from Lynn Corazzi, the data magician from Data to Profit. He is our guest on today's show. Welcome into Idea Collective Live. This is the official weekly meeting of the small business community. I'm your host, Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. Now, we are live on the Idea Collective YouTube channel. It's great to have you here, but we'd love to have you be a member. To do that, click subscribe on the channel while you're there, and that way you will never miss a future episode of this show or some of the other broadcasts that we have planned for later in the month. If you're not on YouTube, that's cool. We're broadcasting all across the Idea Coach Network. Click like or subscribe or whatever platform you're on. Just make sure that everybody knows that you're a friend. Now, here's the thing. You can share this show with people in your network. If there's someone in your network that you think could get better at financial confidence, click share real quick, and then someone on your social media will see this as well. A big reminder, the chat is live and it's unified across all the different platforms. So if you have questions during the show, get active inside the chat. That way we can get your questions on the air with Lynn, and also we can get some feedback on how the show is going. Also, we are going to bring people on today with another round of instant networking. So later in the show, JB, the showrunner, she is going to put up on the screen a link for you to call into the show. And that way you can tell the entire network all about what you do, and we can learn how we can help you as well. All of this is made possible by our friends at Bank 59 and Serendipity Labs, and of course, the incredible Idea Collective collaboration community for small business owners. Now, I said thank you to JB, the showrunner. She's behind the scenes making sure everything works. She's also got a really new, exciting email inbox program that we're going to share later on. So if you're overwhelmed by email, the gal that makes all of us look good here can help your email box look a heck of a lot better. We'll hear about that later on. Now, I mentioned we're going to do our instant networking. The other thing we're going to do today, I'm going to share 3 things that I learned this week that you need to know about, and they are really, really good things. But first, let's get to our featured guest. From Data to Profit, we call him the data magician, Lynn Corazzi. Good afternoon, Lynn. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really well today, Pat. Thank you so much. Great to see you again, and great to be part of the Idea Collective in the Small Business Rally Point.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Now, today we're talking about something that I'm very weak in. That's why I need people like you in my life. Small business financial confidence and small business finance 101. So what does confidence, small business financial confidence mean for a small business owner?
It is, at the end of the day, it's being able to talk to somebody else about the performance of your business, knowing that you know what's actually happening from a sales, cash flow, revenue, and profit basis. And being able to then say, you know what, I understand what's going on for my business, and I know where I'm going, so I don't have to worry about all the numbers. I don't have to worry about my future performance because I am grounded in them and I know what they mean.
And numbers don't lie, right? Are you like one of those guys, numbers don't lie? If you know your numbers, you really know what's really going on in your business?
Yes, you do. Because when you think about your numbers from your sales, your expenses, your net profits, and whether you have enough money in the bank, that's the ultimate test. And unfortunately, people don't pay attention to where their cash flow is going. And a lot of small businesses don't go out of business because they're not making money. They don't have enough cash flow. But that's the one thing that they really don't like paying attention to because it's unpredictable. It's a lot of times unknowable, and it's sometimes very time consuming to track. But you have to do that so you understand what is happening, so you can look forward and see what's going to happen. And that's really the difference between accounting and finance. Accounting is all about, yes, you get your bank statement, you can see what happened. A finance mind is saying, okay, what happened, what's going to happen going forward. Accounting actuals, finance future.
Accounting actuals, finance future. And can we circle back on something there? Because a little piece of my head
Sure.
exploded when you said small business owners don't go out of business because they don't make money. It's because they don't have cash flow. Now, I'm kind of a third grader on this stuff. Explain that
Mhm.
one more time. Like, what do you mean by making money but not having any?
Okay, say take the really normal, not so much a normal example, but when it's really easy to understand. I buy some products to put in my inventory. I have to pay for that inventory within a certain amount of time. But if I don't sell it all, it's still sitting in my warehouse or my storage bin. I had to pay for it, but if I'm not selling it, I got no money coming in.
Hmm.
Or if you sell something and somebody gives you part a deposit, but they never pay you for another 90 days because they don't have the money, they don't pay you. In the meantime, you've got all these other bills that are coming in due. So you've got to pay out more money than you have.
Ah,
That's your cash flow. And everything works around understanding what's going on with your cash.
okay. So that was something I needed to have explained to me. Now, during the course of this interview, if there's something that Lynn says that you want to ask about, drop it into the chat and we'll include it in the conversation right away.
Mhm.
So that's something that always holds me up. Let's talk about other areas where small business owners get tripped up with their finances. Is there any concept that seems especially confusing to people?
A lot of that it's the sales and cost of sales. Because if you think about a lot of people like myself, we're consultants. I don't sell anything that's tangible, right? So I technically don't have to buy any inventory. I don't have that cost, but I still have all those other fixed costs with marketing, maintaining my website, and doing all the other things that I need to do. So it's easy to say, yes, I don't have any cost of sales. But I technically don't, but yet I still have to cover those costs. And that just seems to be lost on people. Like, yes, consulting is very profitable because you don't have to buy anything to be able to do it.
Right.
And it's just and then that idea of being able to look forward and say, how do I project going forward what's going to happen? That just seems to be at a loss because people, if you're not used to doing it, how do you start predicting the future? The only way you can really predict the future is to really understand what's happened to you in the past, making those hypotheses about what's going to happen, and then projecting it forward. And once you do that, you have a set of assumptions that you can say, how am I doing against all these different assumptions? If I'm hitting all of them, my future performance will be just as I predicted.
So we're
But
talking
then
future performance here. We're talking predictions and assumptions. Those are just fancy pants words for guesses, right? We're kind of like guessing based on how business has gone, how we think business is going to go.
Well, it's kind of like the weather. The weather models are developed looking at actual weather performance over time, all these different models that are created. I can go out there and guess what the weather's going to be 5 days from now.
Mhm.
Take somebody who's a true weatherman, they're going to have a much better basis for further assumptions.
Okay, that makes sense. So if we're starting out, or maybe we're just not as sharp on our numbers as we need to be, what numbers do we need to know cold? Like, hey, we know these numbers about our small business.
You have to know your cash flow. So you have to know every month what's coming in, what's going out, where it came from, and where it went. So that is the basis of looking forward and saying, if I understand what's happening on a monthly basis, and I can begin to project forward to say, yes, I can now confidently look forward another 6 months and say, if I continue to do this, I'm going to be just fine. Thank you very much. But if you're looking at it and the trends are starting to say, you're beginning to use more cash than you take in, you have months then, or at least weeks, to figure out what do you need to do differently to be able to change your current level of performance. So yeah, those two things: what's going on with your cash flows, and then the other thing is where your sales coming from.
Okay. We've got a question from the chat here. Unfortunately, we don't know who it is on the Facebook page, but welcome, Facebook user. Are predictions different than goals as we're talking about looking forward?
If depending on how your goals is what you want to do. If I want to say I want to grow my business 50%, that's a goal. But if I look at what my demonstrated performance has been in the past and use that to predict, hey, most I'm going to get is 10 to 15%. That it gives you the opportunity to see how far are you from the goals that you want to get. If you look at a prediction as this is my forecast, that forecast can be your goal. So it gets a little into the nuance, but it's how you're thinking about each one of those two things. You know, I want to pay $1 million in taxes to the IRS. That's my goal. I have no tangible way of getting myself there. I even know, even I can, if I wanted to predict it, guess it, hope that it'll happen, it's just not going to be attainable without doing something completely different. I don't know if that answers the question or not.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's great information here. What is a metric that maybe that we don't, that you wish that people were tracking? Something that you find useful when you look at people's information that you wish everybody would track?
I wish they really understood what was happening to their sales. When most people report their sales, it's a lump sum, like, hey, our sales were $100 this month. I really want to know how much of that came from existing customers, from new customers, from customers that I've always had that are just starting to buy more in a variety, and how much of my sales did I lose because people left. So it's a very non-typical way of looking at and exploring and understanding your sales, because what I just talked about, where there's only 4 ways to grow your sales. That's it. So if you start looking at your business from that perspective, most people look at it, I sold by this type of product or to this name of this customer. I really wish they took and understood how they're getting the performance that they are, not just what the performance is, but the why.
So let's talk about an existing business. A
Mhm.
lot of us thinking about finding new customers. I'm always looking for new customers.
Yeah, everybody loves new customers.
Everybody loves new customers. They're
Yeah.
great. They're beautiful. They smell nice. If you want to be my new customer, I think you're beautiful and thank you for coming by. But
Mhm.
are they as important as keeping the ones you have or upselling the ones you have or saving people that were going to leave? I mean, no, technically they're all kind of created equal, but from your standpoint, are they all equal?
When you have an existing customer, the old adage has always been it's easier to sell more to the people that you already have than to go find another one.
Mhm.
Because the other flip side of that is going out and finding new customers doesn't always necessarily they're going to be good customers to you or profitable customers to you. And if you understand your customers better, you might realize that some of the customers that you have are really the pain in the ass customers who you spend a lot more time and money servicing than you're making for them, right? Whoever thinks about firing one of their biggest customers? I worked with a guy who ran a distributor business, and he got a very, very large contract. I said, hey, great, congratulations, John. But how much margin did you make? Did you give away trying to get the new customer? And what's going to happen 2 years from now when the contract's up and you got to rebid it with him again? And all of a sudden, the guy's head began to think about all the people that he's not going to be able to service because he has this now one really big, cool customer he got excited about. And unfortunately, that's the mindset. Every sale is a good sale, and it's not.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't know if that's a good sale until after the fact or mid-contract when
Yes.
as the folks in the chat are mentioning, as Susie has said here, a PETA customer. Like you don't really know that until
Uh-huh.
you're kind of in the relationship, right?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I worked with a pizzeria once, and the owner had a PIA button on his machine, on his cash register. So what's PIA? This was the pain in the ass customer. And he talked about this woman who every Friday she ordered a pizza. 2 hours later, she'd call up and say it wasn't good. He'd give her another one. And
Mhm.
finally, one day he just told her, look, please take your business somewhere else. I'm obviously not satisfying you. Somebody else can.
We're talking today with Lynn Corazzi. He's the data magician of Data to Profit, and we're talking small business finance 101 and how to regain your financial confidence. And if you have questions, put them in the chat and we'll get them on the air. We've got a few we need to get to. Something you said earlier about the types or the ways to get customers. And Michael points out, I'm not sure if you talked about the 4 ways to get customers or the 4 types of customers. We have a little confusion there about what you were talking about.
The 4 ways.
Okay.
Yes.
And those 4 ways again, can you recap them real
The
quick?
4 ways you can go get new ones. And
Right.
you think about most sales compensation plans, it's getting new customers. But you can sell more of the same products to existing customers. or you can get them to buy a wider variety of customers. If you got 10 different product groups, how many of your customers are buying 1, 2, 3, 4, or all 10? That's kind of cool stuff to know, because you can have different ways of marketing to the people. And the fourth way to grow your sales, and final way, is to retain the customers that you have. I worked with the business once, and it's like, yes, 30% of your new customers that you acquire this year, all they're going to do is replace the leaky bucket. What do you mean? When we showed them year over year, they lose 30% of the volume from customers that they had the prior year. So, which then sparked a whole new conversation with them: is why is their retention so bad? And just started a whole new angle, because if you're not actually thinking about it, you don't often, it's a problem that just kind of goes unnoticed. It's what you hear about in the hallways. Oh, another customer left, or the customer service line is swamped. What does that mean for your future sales?
And that's what makes you the data magician. People can look at numbers on a spreadsheet and say, oh, 3%, it's 3%. And you're saying, okay, it's 3%. Why is it 3%? And what does that mean? And it might point out a pain point somewhere else in the organization, because you're looking past that number to the why that number is the way that it is. And I've always appreciated the way that you think about that kind of thing. We've got a question from Eric Clark, a good one. How do you measure someone's or a business's financial confidence? Is there an index or a metric, or is it just kind of an interview style thing?
How much uninterrupted sleep do they get every night thinking about finances? So, kind of the flippant answer, but if you're not worried about it, you're going to sleep better at night. And what I do have, though, is a 10-question assessment that can walk down through aspects about your business. And if you are not doing well on that assessment, then chances are we need to have a longer conversation. But I'd be happy to walk anybody through that with them, just to kind of get a sense of how good are you in thinking about your numbers. Do you look forward to them, or do you dread them? Do you understand them, or are they a great mystery? And why is confidence so low, particularly with so many business owners of small businesses? They don't like numbers. They started it because they wanted to do something else. They wanted to go paint mustaches on something. I don't know. That's why they got into business. So what do? They don't like numbers. So they hire a bookkeeper, an accountant. They push it all off. And the bookkeeper or accountant may tell them stuff, may not tell them stuff, but here's your financials. I don't understand them. You've given them to me. How many months are going to go by before I'm going to say, really, can you explain this to me? Or the nagging thing that I worry about after talking to a number of people is, how do they even know it's right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else is doing all this work for you. I met with an accountant last week, and he was saying he brought in to fix somebody else because they got a new bookkeeper assigned to their account, and problems went on for a year and a half before they really figured out just how screwed up things had gotten. He went back and reconstructed 2 years of accounting, got them to recover a couple $1,000s worth of taxes, because nobody was looking with enough detail or enough confidence to ask the questions.
And what is it about numbers that keeps us up at night? That's such a elegant metric of yours. How worried about, or how do you feel about your financial confidence? How well are you sleeping? Why is it numbers? They're the things that keep us up, not the color of a logo or something a client said. It's oftentimes numbers that keep us up in the middle of the night. Why is that?
Numbers pay your rent. I mean, if you're not making enough in your business, or you're worried about living paycheck to paycheck, it's stuff that is just, you are going to worry about it unless you have a plan that gets you to be able to fix what you have. If you're not making enough money, is it because you're not charging enough? Is it because you're for your variable cost? Do you have too many fixed costs that you need to get rid of? Or you may be making money, but it's much less than you thought you were going to be able to. Then it becomes very personal to you. Trust me, I've got my own demons that I have confidence in lots of other areas of running my business. Little gremlins that sit on your shoulders. But the neat thing about this is more learnable than personality conflicts, or all the other stuff that other people in the Idea Collective can help you with to get confidence in your other areas of your life. This is something that can be taught if you are ready to take it on and put your nose to it, answer some tough questions, or have somebody walk you through What do your income statements mean in plain English? What is somebody else looking for? What do they do? What does it mean? What would you do with this? Explain to me why this happened. Once you can actually do that, then you will become financially confident.
Hmm.
And most importantly, when you do need to grow and go to get that loan from your bank, you will be funding ready. And funding ready came from a banker I met, Arlene Martin. I was describing her what I'm doing, and she said, "Oh, you know what? You're getting people funding ready. It means that they can put together their loan package, sit
Yeah.
across the table like we are right now, and explain, here's what our business is happening, or this is what's going on in our business. This is why we need the money. Here's our projections going forward." And the banker says, "Wow, you got your crap together. I feel more confident about your confidence, and I'm going to give you a loan."
And there's a real world example of that today as the second round of PPP is open to first time applicants starting today. So if you know your numbers and you're ready to fill out the form and you can do what you need to do, for many people, there's money sitting there ready to help you. But for a lot of people, the first time around with the PPP, they didn't have their act together. And that held a lot of people back from trying to find the support that the government
Mhm.
was ready to give them.
Yep.
We've got a few more moments here with Lynn before we move on to a few other questions and such, and the instant networking. But a question from Heather Hernandez: what is the average amount of time that you like to evaluate a client's numbers before you can offer solutions? How long does it take?
You know, what I tell people, if we set up and decide we're going to work together, I'm going to ask you to give me 2 years of P&Ls. What's your income statement look like, and what's your bank statements for the last 2 hours? I will spend minimum of 10 hours with those, um, with that information, kind of put together, and at that point in time, be ready to see what it is that I see that you should know. And then as I do my work, I'm going to obviously not understand my business the way that you do, but I'm going to ask you to go find out, hey, what happened here, 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 and here? Or why do you spend this much money in this account and it looks like it should be belonging into another account? Those are some of the inconsistencies that I'm going to try to help you and find, but also then really test what do you know or not know about your business. Heck, if everything goes really, really well, we will find that you're a heck of a lot more confident and know your business a heck of a lot more than you really give yourself credit for. Great question.
Could be an uplifting experience. So you're saying, to be clear, let's say we start to work together, you'd spend a couple of
Yep.
hours looking over my stuff and then we'd have a conversation, not a couple of hours of you and I looking at each other. You'd take my information,
Yes.
you'd review it, and then we get down to business.
Yes, and then once we do that first initial longer review, we're going to go through it for the next couple months. First, me doing it, then you doing it, and you doing it. And along the way, we'll talk about the difference between finance and accounting, the huge differences between the two in perspective.
Mhm.
And we're going to talk about your cash flow. We'll then get into what are some of the other metrics that you ought to be thinking about that are indicative of your business performance. For example, accountants tend to look at dollars and cents. When you get into other metrics, it's revenue per customer. It's all these other different things that can look at that are not just the accounting numbers, but how you really think about your business.
Okay, we got just like one more question left for
Okay.
Lynn before we move on to the instant networking. This is your chance to call into the show and tell us what you do, introduce yourself to a whole slew of folks, and tell us how we can help you and how you can help us. So we've got the chance now for you to call in and be on the air. We'll get to that in just a few moments. So, Lynn, when you know your numbers, what does that do for a business owner?
Again, the whole thing is that you have more of a better sense of not only where you are, you'll understand exactly how you got there, and more often than not, you're going to have a much better idea of what should you do differently, if anything at all. If you have a goal or a forecast that you're hitting and things are going on as you expected it to, you don't need to make any other adjustments. But if things are falling behind, what do you need to do to catch up? For example, if you see your cash flow going down, 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 and you wanted to go take that trip to Vegas this spring,
I do.
you may be putting it on a credit card because you're not going to have enough cash. But now if we've got time for you to think about it, you can go do other things. You may need to kick yourself in the butt and get out there and just pound the pavement a little bit more to get those new customers, where you've kind of been taking it easy because of all the other things that come up in life. That's the idea. You're going to have a better mindset about where you're going in the direction of your business, guaranteed.
It'll be on the credit card on the way out, but on the way home, I'll be paying all in cash, baby. It'll be great. It'll win big. All right. Last but not least, Lynn, tell us about how we get in touch with you and how we can book some financial coaching confidence. Tell us about it.
I am all over LinkedIn, super easy to find there. And if you want to give me a call, my number is 920-948-3355. And what I'd like to offer the Idea Collective today is if you want to sit down and do that assessment, let's spend a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour talking about what's going on with your business. What is the current state of your confidence? If you want to say, you know what, I want to jump right in. Normally I do things over a period of several weeks and months. But if you want to do a quick 2.5 hour crash course, Design Your Confidence, I'd like to offer that at a deeply discounted rate for Idea Collective members.
That's awesome. Lynn Corazzi, the data magician, thanks for coming on and sharing some information on a tough subject for many, the finances and we need to know in our small business finance one-on-one. We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Lynn.
Thank you so much, Pat. Thank you.
All right, so let's move on now to the rest of the show. We've got a few slots available for instant networking. If you haven't called into the show today, I want you to take a deep breath and call in and tell us about you and your business. So let's hear from you. We've got Eric Clark standing by. We'll check in with him in just a moment. But first, let's do a couple of things that I saw this week that I think you need to know about. These are things that I've learned in the last couple of weeks, or last week rather, that I thought were, that's kind of interesting. I need to share that. So the first thing that happened is I learned about a website called clarity.fm. Have you heard about this website, clarity.fm? Someone mentioned it in a chat. I'm like, what is that? Well, clarity.fm is basically Upwork for coaching. So you go there and you put in whatever you want to learn and you can buy it by the minute. So I heard about it in a chat about YouTube. And they said, you should go to clarity.fm and search for Corey Vidal. This guy is a YouTube expert. He's got over 100 million views on YouTube. And he offers these one-on-one coaching packages, YouTube strategy, how to grow your channel, yada, yada, yada. And the way that it works is you book the call and it's $250 a minute. So an hour with a guy that knows what he's doing just about YouTube, it's laser coaching by the minute. And it was like, $180 or whatever the math would turn out to be. I need Lynn back to do the math to learn all about YouTube. So anyway, I thought it was kind of an interesting thing. And if you go on this website, it has every possible topic you could possibly imagine. And you can go in and find out what you're missing through a laser coaching session. I thought it was pretty darn interesting. Another thing that I saw, and this really inspired me, this is a brilliant piece of copy. So if you're like me, you have to write your own website or you have to write social media or you need to do a commercial or you need to do something and you got to put in persuasive copy. And oftentimes you're trying to accentuate your strengths. You're trying to tell people why you're amazing because of whatever reason. But there's another strategy, and that strategy is to turn your weaknesses into a strength. So I saw this piece of copy and I thought, I have to share this. So listen to this copy. This copy is for a shoe brand. And it goes, they're not cheap. It's true. $129 is a lot of money, especially for shoes. Yes, we could make them cheaper, but if we did that, they'd be cheap. They wouldn't last as long as they do. They wouldn't be made of the best materials on the planet. They wouldn't come in quarter sizes to fit your feet perfectly. They wouldn't be as comfortable. They wouldn't be atoms. So it's safe to say atoms will never be cheap. And that's a good thing because you'll always get what you pay for. Wow. Wow. I'm scrolling through the Twitter and I saw that and I thought, woo, like the cartoons where the eyeballs pop out. Woo. I had to grab that and share that. So next time you're sitting at the keyboard and you're thinking, gosh, what should I say? What should I say? Think about turning a weakness into a strength. They did that on this copy. I thought it was outstanding. All right, the third and final thing I need to share that I saw this week, and you've heard me talk about this like every time I've had a microphone in my face for the last week. I got a shout out to Clubhouse. I got an invite to Clubhouse from Susie Moon, who's amazing. Thank you, Susie Moon. And if you're not aware of Clubhouse, you will be very soon because it is the thing right now. Basically, it's an audio only chat app. There are no emojis. There are no chat rooms. There's no instant messaging. It's basically a conversation with people from all around the world on every topic you could possibly imagine. I mean, every topic you could possibly imagine. And it is super intimate because you just hear people's voices and there's no algorithm. So I can go search for whatever's going on right now and I can engage with people for whatever they're talking about. And I've engaged in the last 4 days and made connections on Twitter, Instagram, via email with people in Los Angeles, Phoenix, Canada, Virginia, New York, Pennsylvania, Atlanta, London, all over the place. And I've only been on the stupid thing since like Wednesday. And you go and you listen in and you hear people just talking to one another. And it sounds so basic, but it's like podcasting on AM radio mashed together. And then you get a chance to jump into the conversation. And as an old school radio guy, emphasis on the old part, I found it to be just intoxicating. Now they're doing a limited rollout. So a lot of folks that want to get on can't get on, which is kind of a drag. It's by invitation only. And I had an invitation, but I hope you'll respect this. My lovely wife, Abby, asked for it. So what's a husband to do? So I'm out of invitations at the moment. But hook up with someone and get an invitation because it really is something special. And if you want to play around with it, if you are on the platform, my handle on the platform is at Pat the Idea Coach, of course, right? So at Pat the Idea Coach is where I'm at. And I'm hosting an event. We are testing, Andrea Hubbard and I are testing the Idea Slam format on Clubhouse. We did it last Wednesday. It went great. We did it again on Saturday and had a bunch of fun. So Wednesday night, 5 o'clock on Clubhouse, we're going to test the Idea Slam format and see if that works. So those are 3 things I saw this week that I thought you needed to know. Clubhouse, that amazing copy from Adams, and Clarity.fm, because it was, wow, that Clarity.fm is pretty cool. I'm definitely going to take advantage of that. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to do a little bit of instant networking, and we're going to bring on Dr. Zelda Okia first. Dr. Zelda, how are you?
Good, I'm fine. Oh, wow, I didn't know I was going to be first.
Oh, yeah, we're making you go first. Welcome to the show. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Thank you. So I'm Dr. Zelda Okia. I transitioned from death into life, so I'm a doctor, and I was a forensic pathologist. So now I've transitioned to life and weight loss coaching. So yeah, I work with busy professionals who want to lose weight, feel great, and live their best lives ever.
Beautiful. And your backstory is just the coolest thing ever. Death into life. That's like, I think it's the most unique story of anyone that I've met yet. So that's very cool. Tell us how you can help people. Is there anything you're doing right now to acquire new clients or new offers that you might have going on right now?
Yeah, I'm working on a presentation. I'm going to be on some podcasts. I want to do your podcast too, formally. And I am just looking at how people can use simple techniques and skills that they already have that they might not be applying to areas in terms of weight loss or habit formation. So how can they take those even values and strengths and just transition them into other areas where they may not have considered or thought about in order to propel them forward. So it's really taking a more holistic approach to weight loss. It's not just about food and deprivation and all those things that tend to scare people, or exercising for long periods of time. It's really about more of acceptance and receiving what you already have, and how can you really maximize that to your best potential.
Very cool. Last thing, is there anyone in particular you're looking for an introduction with?
Anyone in particular? I just right now I'm professionals people, again, that are just struggling or might have tried many different things, people that have trouble maintaining weight loss. I lost 30 pounds working with a coach. Really, I lost weight listening to her podcast, but I've maintained it. And so that's really my focus, is helping people maintain and carry those skills that they learned when they were losing weight and utilizing them to move forward and have success in other areas of their life also.
All right. So if you're carrying too much weight, call Dr. Zelda. Dr. Zelda, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Eric Clark, ex-Influence, back with us again this week. Hello, Mr. Clark. How are you?
Doing great. Maybe I should stop doing this every week. This part anyways, but I
love it when you're on. What's the latest?
Man, the latest is Happy Monday, everybody. I think you've called me the content king, but I find it interesting. If content is king, then context is God. And as the content king, if anybody needs help ideating on like how to create long form content and or even micro content, I'm the guy to talk to. I'd love to help you. I'm obsessed with it. It's all I think about. I'm up late every night doing this stuff. It's a hobby, a passion, and an obsession all combined into one. And I got the chops to do it too. So, and the team, it's a ton of fun.
Yeah, a hobsession. You are really good at that. So if you sat around and thought, what should I put out on a LinkedIn video, or what should I put out on my blog? You're a really good collaborator. Now, you've made a lot of different brands, right? X-Influence is the one you're working now, right? But you have a whole bunch of others in your category, right?
It's a fun sandbox. I have X-Influence, which I've created my own personal brand and feed that through our content machine. And we're only just getting started. So if anybody's annoyed with me, buckle up. It's going to get way worse or better. And the serendipity of that, it's actually working. So it's fun to see how that's actually turning out business for us. I also manage an e-commerce lifestyle apparel brand called the Okayest Hunter. So I get to cut my teeth there too on the B2C side of things. And our content creation there, we create content every single day, and we've done it organically. Put $1 into this thing instead of 6 months. We've got a lot of top line revenue coming into that entity. I also have a hunting podcast and a hunting app. So our CTO is rebuilding the app, and the podcast got 10,000 downloads a week during peak season, which was just absolutely incredible. So we 10x'd it. And I think that might be it. I do logos too, but I'm all over the map. I try to bring all that in and condense it for X-Influence. So that gets a bit of everything.
All right. Will you drop into the chat your contact information so we know how to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Thanks, Pat, for having me on here. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Eric Clark from X-Influence. That guy's a good collaborator. Like, you need someone just to jam with, that's the guy. Another guy to jam with is the keeper of the whiteboard, the oh holy whiteboard, the top of Mount Whiteboard, Michael Rampolla. Hello, friend. How is the whiteboard today? Is the whiteboard good?
Apparently it needs a mountain. So we can accommodate. I'm doing good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. So it's great to see you again. I hear that you're inspired by my 3 things that I found this week you need to know about. What do you got? Tell us something good. You always got something up your sleeve.
So interesting. This morning I was facilitating a workshop with a client. They do a lot of manufacturing, and they introduced me to an idea that when you're working with a client and they've got a bunch of acronyms flying back and forth, I've kind of got the hang of the acronyms game, but this was a term I'd just never heard before. And this was GEMBA, GEMBA or GENBA, GEMBA or GENBA. It comes from lean manufacturing. And I said, what in the world does that mean? And they said, it's where the work gets done or where the value gets created. And the idea is, if we're going to talk about X, let's go to where X happens. And it was such a simple concept, but such a counterintuitive concept. Instead of let's go to a neutral ground or go to the meeting room or have a conference about the thing, let's go to where the thing is happening. And I thought, from a psychological perspective and just a efficiency perspective, how much more efficient and valuable would that conversation be if we're having it at the place that the value gets created, or at the place that the work takes place? Instead of describing approximately a machine, let's look at the thing. Or if this is where we need to change things, let's go to where the change needs to happen. And how much different a conversation would be if it's happening in physical context of the thing that we're talking about. So just a simple concept that I'd never heard before, but I thought, I like this. I'm going to figure out what. And I told them, I said, I'm going to use this at least 3 or 4 times this week. So this is one. When I learn something new, right, it's that Bader-Meinhof thing. It starts showing up, and I thought, I'm gonna make this show up at least once, and maybe somebody else will start bumping into the idea too.
No, I think that's awesome. And it's like you say, it's so simple but kind of counterintuitive. Like, we have meetings in the conference room, not necessarily where the thing happens. So
that was the idea.
Are you going to stick around and come to the after party here in a minute? You have time? Come over and impress us with your brilliance.
I don't know about that, but I'll be there.
Well, Mount Whiteboard needs to make it there, I'm afraid. Michael Rampolla from Spirity. Thanks, pal. We appreciate it. Oh, shaman of the whiteboard. Oh, keeper of the ideas. Wonderful. All right, so we got to skedaddle here in just a few minutes. We're going to have our Idea Collective after party. Now, this is the place where everyone that watched the stream from all around the world can get together and say hello to one another. And that's the point, right? Idea Collective Live is being broadcast on every social media platform I can get my hands on because I'm trying to spread the message of this collaboration community called the Idea Collective with small business owners far and wide. But just seeing the show isn't enough. You need to meet some of the people that are making up the Idea Collective and have gotten this thing off to such a good start. So at that link that you see on the screen, click that as soon as the show is over. We're going to get together in a Zoom room. And if there's enough of us, we'll break out into small rooms, do a little bit of networking. We'll shoot the breeze. We'll ask Michael for more acronyms and he can draw some pictures on the whiteboard and it'll be a lot of fun. So we do that every day or every Monday after Idea Collective Live. Other things coming up, we're getting ready for our first night school of the year. Night school is our monthly educational event where we bring on a subject matter expert who basically hosts a 45-minute education seminar for free, thanks to Bank59, our sponsor of the Idea Collective and a lot of the content that we're doing. So Sarah Bauer of Heartland Payment Systems, just a sales goddess, is going to do pricing, selling, and closing. And back to Lynn's point, pricing, selling, and closing, that can help you learn a little bit about your numbers. We'll talk techniques and we'll do an hour of content from 6 until 7 p.m. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll do some more after party networking. So you'll get some education and get a chance to meet some people. That is on January 20th at 6 o'clock. Use the link that's on the screen right now. Usually at this point, we just say thanks to JB, the ultimate showrunner and our business connector and our BFF. But JB's got breaking news. JB, you've got a great big package out there. Tell us about it.
Okay, that's an interesting introduction, Pat. Thank you very much for that. Excel and Flourish is currently working on helping people slim down their inbox. So we just want to help everybody get their inbox in shape for the new year. And if you're interested in joining our challenge, please do so. The link is below and I'll try and post it in chat while I'm doing multiple things at the same time. Yeah, so we're going to get your inbox in shape. And next Monday afternoon, we'll do a live Q&A webinar to help answer any questions you have. So thanks, Pat.
I see what you did there. That's very funny. I thought I was going to get you coming on and then you got me good with the graphic there. That's fantastic. Yeah, that is a takeoff, or at least is that chapter 2? Is this the Empire Strikes Back of your overwhelming inbox class? Like this is the second big class, is that right?
Well, we tried to put it in a challenge format. I've never done a challenge before like this, and I've been participating in them forever. So I just figured let's see how people like it in small bite-sized pieces, and get people engaged. Plus, I love doing the live Q&A webinar where people can actually ask questions, because otherwise they get like lost, frustrated, disappointed in the process and things like that.
We don't want that. We don't want that. All right, cool. JB, we'll hit the link. Thanks a lot. We appreciate it. And thanks for your hard work behind the scenes. JB is just working like a crazy person behind the scenes to make this thing happen. So thanks to her as always. If you're on the Idea Collective YouTube page, hit subscribe while you're there, will you? We're trying to get those numbers up. And thank you so much for joining us, no matter where you are on the Idea Coach Network. Thank you to Lynn Corazzi, the data magician from Data to Profit, for being our guest of honor today. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. We'll see you at the after party.